Chapter 5 A Moment of Kindness. Captain Westford and Anne Elliot now often found themselves together at Uppercross, but they hardly spoke to each other. Once she had been so important to him, and he to her, and now there was nothing. There had been a time when they could not stop talking to each other. Their hearts had been so opened. They had felt the same about everything, but now they were like strangers. Everyone at the Gray's house wanted to hear about Captain Wentworth's time in the Navy, and Captain Wentworth liked to talk. Sometimes he talked about other things that had happened in the year when he and Anne were in love. That was in 1806, he said one time, and another time that happened before I went to the theatre in 1806. His voice did not change, but I knew that he must remember that year as well as she did. But she did not think he found it helpful to think about, and could see that Captain Wentworth was enjoying himself. Everyone listened to him. Henrietta and Louisa were not interested in anyone else. Their cousins, the Miss Hayters, were not in love with him too. Who could not enjoy being so well liked? Soon, Captain Wentworth was at the great house almost every day. The Musgroves were pleased to invite him, and he was pleased to come. He thought that Miss and Mrs. Musgrove were friendly and welcomed, and he found the young Musgroves very agreeable. Everyone at the Great House was very pleased with Captain Wentworth too, until Charles Hayter came to the house. He was not pleased with Captain Wentworth at all. Charles Hayter was one of Henrietta's and Louisa's cousins, and was an agreeable, pleasant young man. He and Henrietta had begun to like each other very much before Captain Wentworth came to Kellynch. The Hayters lived just 2 miles away from Uppercross, and the two families were very close. But the Hayters had much less money and less land than the Musgroves. If Henrietta married Charles, it could not make her rich or important. However, Miss and Miss Musgrove could see that Henrietta liked Charles and that they might be happy together. Charles Hayter was a cleared man, and he had just gone away for a short time with Captain Wentworth to begin visit the Musgroves at Uppercross. When Charles Hayter came back to his father's house, he found that Henrietta had forgotten him. He could see at once that this was probably because of Captain Wentworth. At Uppercross Cottage, Mary and Charles Musgrove often talked about which of Miss Musgrove's Captain Wentworth liked best. Charles was happy for Captain Wentworth to marry either of his sisters. He said that he never met a more agreeable man than Captain Wentworth. He felt sure that Captain Wentworth had a lot of money too. Mary, however, hoped that Captain Wentworth would choose Henrietta. She did not think that Charles Hayter was important enough for Henrietta, and she did not want her family to be connected to the Hayters by marriage. So she hoped that Captain Wentworth would make Henrietta forget Charles Hayter completely. Annie did not want to talk about which of the Miss Musgroves Captain Wentworth liked best. She hoped that he would decide soon, so he did not make one of them very unhappy or lose his own honor. A few days after, Charles Hayter had returned and was at home at Uppercross Cottage. She was looking after little Charles, whose back was hurting again. When Captain Wentworth walked in the house, he was very surprised to find himself almost alone with Anne Elliot. "I thought that Miss Musgroves were here," he said. "Miss Musgroves told me they were." Then he went to the window to become calm again. "They are upstairs," "With my sister, I am sure they will come down very soon," replied Anne, full of different feelings. She wanted to leave the room, both for herself and for Captain Wentworth, but Peter Charles called out to her for something. "I hope he's feeling better," said Captain Wentworth politely, staying by the window. For a few minutes Annie looked after little Charles, while Captain Wentworth stood quietly by the window, and was pleased when she heard someone coming into the cottage, but looking up she saw it was Charles Hayter. He would not be pleased to see Captain Wentworth, I knew. Captain Wentworth came forward to talk to him, but when I invited Charles Watcher to sit out, he picked up a newspaper and started to read. After a short while, Mary's young son came into the room. He wanted to play, but when he saw that his brother was ill, he climbed onto Anne's back. Anne spoke to him and tried to push him away, but he would not listen. "Walter," she said, "get down now. You are making me very angry." "Walter," said Charles Hayter, "do what your aunt says. Come here to me." Walter would not move, but a moment later someone took him from Anne's back. Walter had pushed Anne's head down, so it was only after his hands had come away from her neck, and he was carried away, that Annie knew Captain Wentworth had done it. She could not speak. His kindness and the quiet way he had taken Walter from her gut left her full of confusing feelings. So when Mary and Miss Monrose came back, she left the room at once. In such a little thing, but it had brought out great feelings inside her. She had to stay alone for a long time, thinking quietly before she felt better.